as you said, it started in late 2016. It first hit American diplomats and American spies posing as diplomats in Havana. And basically some people heard a sound, some people didn't hear anything, but people started coming down with debilitating vertigo, nausea, sleeplessness, inability to concentrate. A lot of people couldn't work anymore. That it led to the embassy being basically shut down in Havana and derailing the kind of détente with between America and Cuba. Then the same phenomenon popped up in China in the consulate in Guangzhou, and then incidents in Shanghai. And now we know that these, what we think are now attacks from directed energy weapons that cause this damage to the brain have been happening in Georgia, Poland, London, Australia now, Taiwan, and now at home on U.S. soil.
So far more widespread than initially thought. Take us through again just what we understand when you're talking about a microwave-based attack. What sort of weapon is that?
So it's a directed energy weapon, as far as we understand. It directs electromagnetic radiation, apparently, at the brain, and it causes damage to from what we understand, damage to the white matter. That's the deeper part of the brain where all the kind of wiring, networking is in the brain. And that's the part of the brain that doesn't regrow, doesn't replace itself. And so some of this damage is permanent.
So the belief from those that have been attacked or have suffered is that it is a foreign actor involved in this. And the fingers are being pointed at Russia. What have your investigations uncovered?
So I should also say, by the way, about the weapon, the U.S. also has this kind of weapon, but it's very large from what we've seen.
Yes.
From my reporting has found that it's gotten a lot smaller. It's portable. You can beam it through walls, through windows, and up to a couple miles away. From what I have found, CIA investigators have correlated the travel of agents from the FSB, or the Russian security services, that places these agents in and around the space where people were attacked. These are CIA officers who were attacked around the same time, including in Australia. In two instances where CIA officers were attacked, the FSB agents were actually in the same hotel at the same time that the attacks occurred. So this is not a slam dunk case just yet, but It is the beginning of an investigation that CIA investigators hoped the agency would pick up and run with, but it has been basically squashed, they believe, because the leadership is too scared to bring anything Russia-related to our president.
Yes, I want to talk about that in a minute, but these attacks also happened in Russia, admittedly against US diplomats, US officials. Could that have been a deliberate ploy to distract attention from Russia as a perpetrator?
No, I think if anything, it points the finger at the Russians. That it happens on Russian soil. Russia controls what happens on its territory pretty carefully, and the fact that it was aimed at two CIA officers who were working at the time on a new effort to push back against Russian covert actions and active measures, really kind of seems like it would be the Russians, wouldn't it?
It is funny because Russia still seems to just have this real Cold War mentality without presuming that they are guilty in this instance. As you say, it's not a slam dunk, but they do seem to be the foreign actor that acts in this Cold War mentality.
Yes, and, as a lot of people that I spoke to about this who work on this issue, they don't understand why Russia is still doing this. They want us to, in some ways, they hate that they've become this third rail of American politics, but they kind of love that they're this boogeyman that everybody's talking about, that they're feared. They know they're not going to be loved by the Americans, but might as well be feared and respected, and have their opinion taken into account on the world stage. when they're in this Cold War mentality, what that means for them is that they're still a superpower and that they're still treated like a superpower with the respect and awe that they think they deserve.
It's ironic, though, because as you pointed out, is Donald Trump has not been willing to take on the Russians. If they say they weren't involved, he just simply says they say they weren't involved. I believe them. So it is interesting that they've chosen to do it over this period of time when Trump has been in power and not really scrutinising them.
That's right. Well, I think that there's also people, in the Russian security agencies who just do this. They're used to doing this. They've been doing this for decades. And until they meet resistance or some kind of pushback or somebody slapping them on the hand, they're going to keep going further and further and further. In 2019, as I found in my reporting, they were slipping date rape drugs in the drinks of CIA officers who were at receptions in American embassies. I mean, that's crazy.
It is completely crazy. Are the people, at least, who suffered, the diplomats, the CIA officials, have they been given compensation? Have they been treated seriously?
Not really. Unfortunately, our government is not really doing much for the people affected. This is the reason the main, character in my story, Mark Polymeropoulos, who was a very senior CIA official, the equivalent of a 4-star general. This is the reason he spoke out. He got basically doctors inside the CIA telling him he's crazy. This is what's happening to State Department officials, Commerce Department officials who have been affected. They're not getting the treatment or the support that they deserve while being hit on the job, doing their duties, representing the American government. And they're deeply frustrated.
Yes, well, in 2 weeks' time may change things, but I guess we'll have to wait and see the outcome of the US election. Julia, fascinating. We really appreciate getting the benefit of your investigations. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.